it's been a really challenging time over the last 2 years. I met Robin Worsnop, the previous chair of ETAG, over coffee, and we were remarking about how much things had changed in the 2 years since I took over. But it's been a challenging time, and I've learned a lot and met some fantastic people, and many of you are here today. So thank you all for coming along today, and may I add my welcome to you all in addition to Amanda's. And I'm delighted that we've been able to bring people back together in the same place after such a long period of time. And it's great to be in person rather than the hybrid version that has perhaps become the norm recently. And the clear feedback that we had from the industry group when we consulted them at the end of last year, they were telling us that a lot of people had lost contact with their own networks through the last couple of years, with people moving on, people changing their roles or leaving the sector. And so one of the main objectives of bringing us together today is to help you catch up with old friends, make new ones, and hopefully establish new contacts with whom you can work and collaborate. In effect, rebuild your networks. And it was really pleasing to see in Amanda's research slides there that actually you were voting for the same interest in terms of collaboration and networking and connection. So we're off to a very good start, I think, today with us all being on the same page. So today is a chance to look forward and look at the year ahead. And while I don't want to dwell on what has happened, I do want to start with a few words of reflection just to remind us what we've all been through. We last came together at our ETAG conference in January 2020, and things were looking good. As a city, we were performing well, and we were looking ahead from a position of real strength. Indeed, you remember we launched the Edinburgh Tourism 2030 strategy, and the essence was about managing sustainable growth. And you can see from the left-hand side of my slide here that Edinburgh was consistently the best performing destination in the UK outside London. So a very strong position. But as we all know, we went from this position on the left to the position on the right with zero tourism, and it literally happened overnight. And it's important to recognise, I think, as we all experienced it, the impact and the extremely challenging position we found ourselves in. After many years of growth, the tap was simply turned off. Not just from our international markets, but also at first from our domestic and local markets. In 2020, we reckon that we went back 20 years with the airport seeing the lowest passenger numbers since 1995. There were almost 3 million fewer stays in hotels. Attractions saw their visitor numbers drop by 76%. And we had 2 years of cancelled or scaled back festivals and events, which for Edinburgh is a huge part of the visitor economy. Our business events sector stopped, and venues like this became temporary hospitals or testing centres or immunisation centres. And as a result, I think we've lost a lot of skills, a lot of talent right the way across the board. And we regularly heard predictions that it was going to take 4 to 5 years to return. But where are we now? Well, I didn't want to dwell on the past, but today I think we are looking forward. And while we do have some way to go to get back to pre-pandemic levels, there are some really encouraging signs that things are starting to move in the right direction. Not least the recent lifting of COVID restrictions on international travel. And for a global destination like Edinburgh, this is very welcome news indeed. And we're already seeing some of our international markets return. Key indicators are starting to show sustained recovery and improvements on where we found ourselves rather in the years before. Edinburgh Hotel Association data is now sitting somewhere between 15 and 20% behind 2019, with occupancy and room rates beginning to improve. In February this year, Edinburgh Airport achieved 63% of pre-COVID levels, and I'm sure Gordon will expand on this when we hear from him later. In relation to visitor attractions, the top 2 paid and free attractions in Scotland were in Edinburgh last year. So encouraging news. And in terms of some sentiment tracking from Visit Scotland, who have given us access to this data, and public sentiment is very important, and Visit Scotland carried out this latest research late last year and early this year. And this gives us a bit of an insight into the general views towards Edinburgh. Now, we all know from watching the news that rural destinations continue to dominate the most visited areas in Scotland, particularly the Highlands, Isle of Skye and Argyll. But Edinburgh was the third most visited place across the whole of Scotland during this time, and it was the only Scottish city in the top 3. During that same period, Edinburgh was the second most popular destination in Scotland for non-Scottish residents, and it ranks second as the place first-time visitors are more likely to visit. Interestingly, first-time visitors appeared more likely to visit Edinburgh than repeat visitors, and perhaps this is something we need to examine in the future. And Edinburgh now ranks 4th and is the only city in the top 5 of Scottish destinations visitors have said that they are most likely to stay in the future and visit for a short break. And Visit Britain research is telling us that those planning or taking a holiday in the UK ranks 3rd, behind Cornwall and Devon in the southwest and the Lake District in the northwest. And it's the preferred destination between April and September this year. So some really encouraging public sentiment and research tracking that gives us hope that everything is beginning to recover and we can look forward to the future. But as Amanda commented, we still have challenges, and I don't think we're out of the woods. And while we're starting to see recovery across different parts of the sector, we're acutely aware that huge challenges lie ahead. I won't go through each one of them, as many of you will be experiencing some of these challenges in your own business. However, I think it's really important to recognise that for many, business remains fragile, and in many cases, we're still in survival mode. There is no doubt that the year ahead is going to be a real test of our mettle right across the sector. But what I do want to do is reassure you that ETAG and our Team Edinburgh partners are here and will continue to do what we can to support the visitor economy through the most challenging of times. And today is very much the start of that. Through our speakers, we hope to provide some insight into what lies ahead over the coming year. We'll hear what the latest economic and consumer trends are. We'll hear how Edinburgh continues to evolve its visitor offer with the addition of new hotels and attractions. And of course, we will get an update from one of our biggest stakeholders in Edinburgh Airport. But before we delve into today's programme, I wanted to use this opportunity to share some information about ETAG and give you an insight into where we will focus our activity over the next year or so. Firstly, I'm delighted to let you know that we have welcomed a new member of our small ETAG team at the start of this year. You can't see her as she's up in the tech booth right now, but Jacqueline Miller, who many of you know from her previous roles and her freelance work, joined as the project manager in January and is now with us 2.5 days a week. Jack joins Gillian Richardson from Scottish Enterprise and Alice Hay, our ETAG China Ready project manager, and together they are at the coalface of ETAG's day-to-day activity. I also wanted to take this opportunity to publicly thank Scottish Enterprise, in particular to Kim Robertson and Margaret McNeil, who, as many of you know, have been huge contributors to ETAG's work over the years. Both have moved on to new roles within Scottish Enterprise. However, I'm pleased to say that Mags has not disappeared entirely and will continue to support tourism in Edinburgh with a particular focus on the key areas of sustainability and fair work. Finally, I do want to recognise and thank all of my colleagues on the ETAG full group, who for almost 2 years have faithfully met every 2 weeks. Their input, their feedback, their advice, their guiding hand is what drives us, and without that, ETAG wouldn't be what it is. We're truly blessed to have such engaged and passionate individuals supporting what we do. You all know who you are, and a very big thank you from me as your new chairman who effectively walked into a bit of a crisis within the first few weeks of taking this role. So, over last year, we spent a lot of time with the ETAG full group talking about where ETAG was and what we should look at in the future and where we should focus our time. And we spent some time reflecting on the role that developed over the pandemic and thinking about how we should reshape our activities for the coming year. Working with these partners, we've set out a new headline forward plan with 5 key areas of focus: market development, industry development, business development, the development of the Tourism 2030 strategy, and above all, industry communications, which you said was absolutely vital to the success of Team Edinburgh. ETAG's very specific focus in this will remain on business-to-business support, and we will continue to deliver these key areas of activity to support the City Tourism 2030 strategy. And we'll work and support partners across all of these areas, including City of Edinburgh Council, Scottish Enterprise, Visit Scotland, Chamber of Commerce, and many, many others. And I just wanted to drill down into a couple of our priority areas and highlight some activity that will be happening under each one. So we look first of all at industry communications. Many of you will know that we've recently relaunched a new monthly ETAG newsletter. And in recognition of all the newsletters that we receive, we're trying hard not just to repeat or duplicate what is already out there. Rather, we are trying to make sure our communications to you and the news updates that we provide you are specific to the sector you're in and are of value and of use. If you haven't already signed up to receive the newsletter, you can do so at the ETAG website. And through Jack Miller, we are also working hard to maximise the use of our social channels to share news and updates, so please make sure that you follow our Twitter and LinkedIn feeds if you've not already signed up to do so. In industry engagement, aside from today's conference, which is a big step forward after 2 years, we're also planning a programme of ETAG business briefings. And on the back of industry feedback, our intention is to revive our very successful Edinburgh Tourism Showcase event to support and drive business collaboration and innovation. In market development, we're delighted to launch today, with the support of Scottish Enterprise, a new digital travel trade resource, which is aimed at supporting businesses in working with the travel trade. Alongside this, and to support businesses who perhaps are not used to working with the travel trade, we're also delivering a couple of ready-made workshops later in the spring. So please check out the ETAG website for more information on these. And in relation to our China Ready activity, we're delighted to be able to announce the launch of Unpack China, a new business resource, and the year 7 of our Chinese social media project. And I won't steal any of Alice's thunder, as she will be talking about this in more detail later. And finally, just to say that we continue to work to support the activity being led by Edinburgh City Council on the Forever Edinburgh Destination Promotion activity. We should acknowledge and thank Fiona Hunter and her team at CEC for the hard work they have put in to develop and maintain the city's destination channels and activity. And I think it's worth pointing out that since the pandemic started, the successful partnership of ETAG and the City of Edinburgh Council has been successful in securing over 230,000 in Scottish Government funding via Visit Scotland. I think this demonstrates the power of this partnership between industry and city, and it's something we look forward to continuing. Can I now turn to the topic of advancing the 2030 tourism strategy, which was launched 2 years ago, and the background to a lot of the work that's been going on behind the scenes, and perhaps a lot of the information is not readily available and not known. For obvious reasons, when just after we launched the strategy, the pandemic became the priority in the immediate aftermath of our last conference. And our attention was very much focused on supporting industry through this very challenging time. But there's been a lot of work going on in the background, particularly over the last year, to get us into a position now where we're able to move forward. Importantly, all of the citywide partners have been involved with developing this activity as part of the strategy. Being led by the Edinburgh Tourism Strategy Implementation Group, which you may know of as the SIG, and supported by an industry-led operational group, handily titled the OAG, which involves representatives right across the city from these major partners. And ETAG will play a key support role with a particular focus on business engagement, making sure that the industry is involved in shaping the future of the visitor economy in the city. And I'm really pleased to be able to let you know that as part of this plan, a new project office has been set up and resourced to support the delivery of two key areas of activity. The development of an action plan, which will support the strategy, and the exploration of a new and innovative tourism governance model for Edinburgh. This work aims to ensure that the structures and resources in place are fit for purpose, able to deliver the city's visitor economy agenda going forward, that the model is sustainable and also future-proofed. The project office will be led by Laurie Scott, who will start his new role on Monday next week. And many of you may know Laurie from his previous role at Visit Aberdeenshire. Laurie will be supported by a new project coordinator in Alison Rankin. And again, many of you will know Alison from her previous role at the Royal Botanic Gardens of Edinburgh. I'm delighted that both Laurie and Alison have been able to join us here today. And we're all looking forward to working with them on this exciting project. So please go and make yourself known to them, connect with them, as it's going to be an important part of their role to make sure that they're out and about connecting with the industry as we shape the future. So in conclusion, I hope that's given you a flavour of what we've been doing in the last couple of years. We're aware, we're conscious that perhaps we haven't communicated enough, and I'm pleased to see in all the words that you put up on the slides earlier that you're looking for connections, you're looking for communication, and you're looking to collaborate, because that's what we will be doing. That's the essence of what ETAG is there to provide for the industry, this industry collaboration, so that Team Edinburgh and the City of Edinburgh compete against the best cities for tourism product going forward. Thank you very much indeed, and please enjoy your afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you later. Thank you.